and I'm joined by
Hi, thank you for having us. I don't know why this is. Okay. No. She's hearing it. How is that? Okay.
Try it now.
Try it now.
Can she hear us?
Can you hear us now, Martha? Yes.
Okay. Hi. We're good. Again, I'm Kristen Trolio. I'm the grants director with Cleveland Metro Parks. Go ahead, I'll let you take it over.
Thank you, Kristen. Cleveland Metro Parks and Hinckley Township have a long history of working together and a long history of Cleveland Metro Parks operating Hinckley Reservation. We are actually coming up on 100 years with the Hinckley Dam and Hinckley Lake. So we're here before you tonight asking for support. We have looked at several funding opportunities. The one that we are looking for now is some congressional funds through the process that they've established. A little bit about the project itself, and I know that we have people looking from the audience.
I can zoom in on that. Like,
can you
want to prop that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Prop it
Okay.
up here in front of me.
I'll prop it. And then where can I do it so it doesn't block? Look at that. Okay. Yeah, it is. Ooh, oh, wow. Okay, very good. I'm glad I trimmed my nails this morning. Hinckley Lake itself is an approximately 87-acre lake impounded on the east branch of the Rocky River. Like I said, the dam is approaching 100 years old. The dam consists of an earthen embankment and then a 150-foot wide concrete spillway, and it's time for rehabilitation. The dam itself is a Class 1 dam, registered dam. So that what that means is it's a high hazard dam. If the dam were to fail, that means that downstream there would be potential loss of life and property. So we, as the owner of the dam, take that responsibility very seriously and need to make sure that we rehabilitate this dam to modern standards. A lot has changed in 100 years. We see different types of storm. We see hurricane remnants that sometimes come and park over Northeast Ohio, and we need to make sure that our infrastructure can handle those type of extreme events. So with that, we've gone through a very extensive planning process. We have one of the best engineers in the industry, Michael Baker International, who's our engineer of record on this project. We have Great Lakes Construction Company, also located here in Hinckley Township, as our construction manager, who will be doing the construction of the project. And our goal is to start construction at the end of 2023, drain the lake. It will take some time for the lake to drain. And then once we've drained the lake, we will start work on the dam, but we're also going to be removing sediment at the south end of the lake down here, where we've seen some pretty hefty sediment deposits. Over the past few weeks, we've temporarily drawn down the lake 4 feet to see what we would encounter, and we weren't surprised, but we know we have our work cut out for us, because that south end of the lake has really seen a lot of deposits settle over the years. So while we have it drained, we're going to take care of that issue as best we can. So with that, we're looking at an $8 to $9 million project. We have, and Kristen's been working for years on this. Yes, go ahead.
But that's okay. So as Sean said, it's about an $8 to $9 million project, and we have been looking at external funding sources to help offset some of the costs that would otherwise be coming out of Cleveland Metro Parks capital budget. So we have applied several times to the state through the Ohio Department of Natural Resources dam program. Unfortunately, it wasn't the right fit with them only funding planning and us looking for construction funds. And so now we are trying again through the federal appropriations process. So every March, the federal government opens up their appropriation process through both the House and the Senate, and you can apply for projects that fit into one or several of the buckets. And we are going to apply through both Senator Sherrod Brown's office and Congressman Max Miller's office for some funds to help offset the construction costs. So we will be asking for probably 6 million maybe from it. So our request to the township was a letter of support for our application. So letters of support are required by the appropriations process to be submitted with your application. So we have one letter of support from the dam safety program at Ohio Department of Natural Resources that supports the project, and one from the Rocky River Watershed Council who also supports the project. So I did send a draft letter to your trustee, Melissa Augustine, to see if we could get a letter signed from the trustees in support of the project being it located within your township. Yeah. So the request is to support our application to the federal government and asking for funds to fix the dam. And so.
Are you looking for just entities like government and organizations, or would this be something that I don't know if the board would agree to this, but if we posted something on our website that residents can write letters of support as well, since Hinckley Lake is frequented by hundreds of Hinckley residents daily?
I don't see that that would be a problem. Although the federal appropriations process, it's a very quick turnaround time, and the one is due tomorrow and the other one's due Sunday. And so they don't give you much time once they actually
Okay, well, then
open.
our web
Right.
administrator's on vacation, so never mind.
Well, so I mean, and that they do not, they give you about 14 days from when they open up the process until when they're due. And it's just kind of the nature of how this one works.
Okay.
But I think in the future, if we need more, or if we seek another funding source, that could be great.
Okay.
So yeah,
Plus,
so
I think if folks are so inclined, you can always reach out to the representatives. They all have their emails posted and
oh,
you
sure.
can send directly to them.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So yeah, again, it is a quick turnaround time for this particular source, which is not surprising because it has been the last few years as well. So that would be a great gesture for a future application. Maybe we won't need it though. Maybe we'll get funded through this one and we won't need any more future applications. So
Fingers
we'll
crossed.
see, right. So yeah, so that's the request before you, is to support our application through the federal appropriations process.
Did you want to include anything in here about the condition, the current condition of the van and the safety issues, or no? Does that play into the process?
We've made those.
It does. I mean, there's a whole,
That's in the application?
yes, there's a whole application process. So, there's questions that are asked about, your project readiness, the need for the project, the effect of the project on the communities, obviously your budget, and then the letters of support are requirements through the process. So.
Any questions?
Sure.
Could have gotten you your
Or
own
we can
microphone.
hand you a mic. How about that?
I'll take a mic.
Richard Pearl, King Road. Sean, you and I had a long conversation August 1st, 2018
Good memory.
Oh,
Richard.
wow.
about this project. I have notes.
Yes, good memory.
And obviously the dam will not hold up to a 100-year most probable storm. And that's the main reason for doing it. It can't be recertified, correct?
Correct. So we go through a inspection process with the Ohio Department of Natural Resources Dam Safety Program. And with modern engineering and modern analysis of storms, the PMF, probable maximum flood, would overtop the embankment. And that would be a situation that we want to avoid. That's why we are raising the embankment.
Talk about the dredging and where the dredgings are going to go
Oh.
to illuminate the trustees.
Great question. So we have become, I would say, pretty well versed at working on maritime projects and especially inland marine and inland lake projects. So what we've done, we've actually started this at Garfield Pond and Garfield Heights, is we know that the best way to line a pond, to line a lake bottom, or to line a dam in this case, is with native virgin clay. So we actually did some geotechnical evaluation in and around Hinckley Reservation. We looked around the ledges, the Ledge Lake area, and then also Judges Lake. And we then looked at Buzzard's Roost and determined that the geological setting at Buzzard's Roost in the back corner is the best. So we're actually going to be harvesting clay from Buzzard's Roost, using that to build up the dam so it's fully impermeable. And then we will then have created a borrow pit, and the dredge that is produced from the lake operations from dredging will then be brought to fill in that borrow pit at Buzzard's Roost, which we think is a rather unique approach and very economical considering how much dam projects usually cost. This one is relatively cheap.
How many yards do you expect?
Oh, great question. I think we were in the 15,000 yard area. I mean, well, that's a lot. It's still a lot. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. So we're in that.
Gonna be, I assume, roped off so nobody can get back there.
Not only that, we will have a safety plan in place for the lake itself, because we really want to make sure that people don't try and walk across the lake once drained, because that silt it's deep and it is very hard to navigate. I'll put it that way.
My husband is a police officer, and I know they have had to go. They've had calls from people that called. They're like, "I'm fishing, and I am trapped."
Yes. Yeah, and
And
it's
they have to rescue them because it's like quicksand. So
it's scary.
yeah,
Mhm.
I don't know how they remain calm. I'm trapped.
Yeah.
This is where I'm at.
So
Be that calm.
Yes.
if I may again,
Yes.
I'm greatly relieved that you're going to get the soil, the clay by the Buzzard's Roost,
Mhm.
and not from Judges Lake or Ledges Lake,
Mhm.
because then you would, if you were doing those two, you would have to go over township roads.
Yes.
That was the way you and I discussed it
Mhm.
over 4 years ago.
Correct.
So I'm great. That's great that you're going to take it from there and not
Yes.
use our township roads.
If we, I want to make sure, because I know we're on record here. If we do go on road for any portion of that, and we're likely to stay mostly in the park, we will make sure that we are using rated on-road trucks and not off-road trucks.
Okay.
So, which the calculus is we want to use as big a trucks as possible because
Sure.
it reduces the amount of trips. So the finite detail hasn't been worked out, but what we can say is we've really reduced the route length.
Mhm.
So whether or not we use state for a portion of it or not.
Well, that's great to hear that you did your homework.
Yes, yes.
The other, so tell me about the dredging process. Is it going to be wet dredging or dry dredging?
The other thing we've learned over time, having done this now a few times, is that dredging in the dry is the absolute way to go. So one of the reasons we have such a long time frame for this project is we anticipate starting to drain the lake on September 18th of 2023 and letting it decant or dewater as long as possible. Because even though it may look dry, a crust forms on top and you still have soup underneath for the first few months. So we really want the opportunity to let the lake dry itself out. So we are going to be doing it in the dry. It'll still be an absolute muddy mess, but we are not going to use liquid or mechanical dredging operations. So,
Again, I'm glad to hear you're going to do it dry and not wet.
yes. Yes.
And obviously you're going to have to rebuild the swimming area below the dam. That'll be completely destroyed, I would imagine.
It'll be partially impacted because of the work we have to do on the dam. So we have a 150-foot long spillway. And one of the things we found is in that PMF, probable maximum flood, the spillway could rotate a bit. So we're actually going to be pouring a rather large mass of concrete to resist those turning moments or turning movements. So the portion of the spillway closest to the dam will absolutely be impacted. We are looking at putting a new low head dam at the downstream end of the spillway, just so it's new and fresh and
Replacing the
Yes.
existing low head dam.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. again, we're still working out that's a very small component of the project, but
Sure.
yeah.
And you said a very large amount of concrete. I'm assuming you're
Yes.
not going to use concrete trucks half full. You're going to use concrete trucks that are full to the maximum for the roads, wherever you're getting the concrete.
We will either do that, or we have been talking about actually doing a batch plant. So we will see. So the good thing is, we're working with Great Lakes. They are one of the best in the business. Again, housed here in Hinckley Township. So,
And so if you did use trucks,
Mhm.
how many trucks would that mean going over our roads?
Good question. Most of it would be state route other than Bellis, which I could get you that answer, but I don't know off the cuff right now.
That's a lot of heavy trucks that we
Well,
don't normally see.
It's a lot of trucks. Yes, it is. Yes. So I can get you the answer. Give me a little bit of time, but in working with Great Lakes. I
I'm
can
just trying to
determine.
illuminate this project for the trustees
Absolutely.
before they sign this letter.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you.
I think those are my only questions. I think
Okay.
you've come a long way in the last 4.5 years since I talked to you.
We have, and in working with the Ohio Department of Natural Resources and the multiple reviews that we've had from them on the plans, it's a very well scrubbed project. Like we're this close.
So 2 years ago, there was a scheduled burn over in the Buzzard's Roost,
Mhm.
and there was another scheduled burn this fall.
Mhm.
Is that in any way related to what you're doing?
No, that is strictly a natural resource management tool and
Okay.
not related to what we plan to do in the back corner.
One question. I may have asked you this before, but is there any or requirement to mitigate any of the fertilizer runoff that seems to work its way into every decent pond in Hinckley and kill everything in sight and turn the water green? I don't know if that's been an issue here. I might have asked you this about a dead fish
Sure.
or something like that. And I can't remember what your answer was, but is that a concern at all? And is there any plan, if that's a problem, to mitigate it? How would you mitigate something like that?
So one thing, well, several things that we've done is we've tested the silt material at Hinckley. I mean, we typically have to do that to characterize it, and it is generally clean. So we haven't seen a lot of phosphorus deposits or things of that nature. Hinckley Lake is large enough and has enough circulation from the East Branch of the Rocky River and Johnson's Creek that we don't see a lot of the eutrophication that occurs in those smaller inline ponds. So I don't want to say it isn't a concern. It's a little less of a concern. But as a Rocky River watershed partner, it's something that we always are thinking about. We are a 4-time recipient of the H2 Ohio funds from ODNR, where we are doing projects that help remove a lot of those nutrients. Now, this project doesn't do that per se, but yeah, it's something that we pay attention to and have on our radar. But a lot of it's a land management issue with agriculture.
And maybe to help answer that question, for the last 6, maybe even longer years, the organization I belong to, 350 Hinckley, has been monitoring 3 sites of inflow into the lake. Johnson's Run, East Branch of the Rocky River, and Mirror Valley for nitrates and phosphates. In fact, we just did it this morning.
Excellent. And Mirror Valley is an awesome story. Like what we have been able to accomplish there is, with the brown trout coming back, and
Right.
Yeah.
And the nitrate and phosphate levels of those rivers and streams running in are relatively low.
That's good. That's good.
We saw more salt this morning, and more dissolved solids, but the nitrates and phosphates from last year have already rinsed through the system.
Wow. Thank you.
Anything else, John?
I don't want to take it away from you. You're adding so much. We'll just get one for Jeff and I to share.
Is it
I just wanted to say, I appreciate your points. And honestly, that's not even something I had thought about with the roads and, how heavy that equipment would be on our roads, especially our Bellis Road that we just redid. That that being said, I'm also hearing that it's 100 years old.
Mhm.
And when it fails, because it's not a question of if, it's a question of when
Mhm.
it will fail, there could be loss of life, but without a doubt, property loss. That could be devastating to the people impacted by that, because that is more of the lowland over there. And we already hear from residents that, with really heavy rains, the creek starts to overflow and their properties are flooding. So to me, I would say the risk is worth it. It's greater. Well, but it was your point, so that's why I'm looking at you.
I didn't realize I was on the
No,
stand, but go ahead.
You're sitting on the stand. I haven't sworn you in. I think that it's a valid point, but I'm looking at, the pros and the cons and weighing the options. And I would be much more in support of supporting the project than the possible negative impacts.
Sometimes what happens with construction projects like this is the roads are evaluated before it begins,
Mhm.
and then they're evaluated afterwards.
Mhm.
And any damage is taken on by who did most of the damage.
Mhm.
Is that something you would want to ask?
Well, when time comes for the project, I'm sure that we would, you would have to provide what your haul routes are, something to that effect, and we would request that that be addressed at that time.
Absolutely.
And I agree wholeheartedly, truck traffic notwithstanding, that the risk factor is too high to, if we have an opportunity to support something, that'll get that taken care of.
100 years old. She's lasted a long time without a facelift. So,
She's gotten one or two over time. but
Okay.
nothing. Yeah, right, right.
not the full, the
No,
mommy makeover.
just a touch of Botox here and there. That's it.
Good. And then did I miss it? How long it will take from the time you drain it?
Our goal, so we will start draining September 18th of this year.
Okay.
Our goal is to have it back up and running sometime in the summer 2026 season.
26?
2026?
2026, correct. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So we're gonna drain through the fall of 23. And then you're really gonna see a lot of work it's actually not a bad time to pour mass concrete in the winter
Okay.
because of the heat hydration and just how much concrete we're talking about. So that work will likely take place in the winter. And then we really, like I was saying about allowing the lake to decant, like we really want to dry this lake out before we dredge, because we will lose machinery if we put it in soup.
So there will be no swimming at Hinckley Lake for a minimum of two summers.
2 summers. Yes.
Get it in while you can.
Get it in this year. Ledge
Sure.
pool is open. Ledge
Okay.
pool.
Bad time to be in the pizza business, I'd say. With nobody coming there to swim and like they do in late spring,
Yeah.
summer. There's a lot of people coming,
Mhm.
a lot of people. Not anywhere around here.
I bring my kids.
Yeah, I was just saying I do too.
It's a big time favorite spot.
Mhm.
So
Yes.
it's gotta be missed for a couple of years, I'm sure.
Mhm.
We know that there's some temporary pain, but again, it is just temporary and it's worth, as I think you were saying, I mean, this is a big deal.
Yeah.
We need to address.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you're going to build a new dam in front of the old dam, first starting with the big heavy base to keep it from tilting.
Correct.
And then you're going to bring it up to the same height as the existing and use the same pool height.
Yes, so the concrete spillway will be reconstructed to today's existing height. The earthen embankment dams that flank it on each side will be raised. So that's where we get the extra storage so that, when and if we ever get that PMF, probable maximum flood, that it can all be contained within the lake. I mean, there's still, when that day happens, and all heck will break loose because it's not just the lake, it's every stream, ditch. I mean, there's a reason they call it maximum
And
flood.
so the trustees caught the subtle difference between spillway and earthen embankment.
So yeah, I'll show you.
Raise the earthen embankment.
Today,
Right.
this is the spillway, this is the concrete spillway. So this will be reconstructed at its existing height. It'll be wider because it needs to be heavier to resist that turning moment, but the embankment here will be raised. Which, I mean, today you can't see the lake from the parking lot anyways. It's not really going to visually make any differences.
Will you use dredgings to do that?
No, we will actually use the clay from buzzards for this because the dredgings are permeable, the clay is impermeable.
Okay.
And we need impermeable embankment.
And how far back do you have to carry those berms to capture overflow?
So with raising the cap, we're going to carry the berms back probably about 15 feet further than what they are today, but
Okay,
that's all. We don't have to lose any parking. I will say, and I apologize for not mentioning this earlier, because you may get a call or two. We will be removing trees from the embankment before March 31st of this year. So literally in the next 2 weeks. Reason being, we want to make sure that those trees come down before any federal restrictions get put in place, which start April 1st regarding the Indiana long-eared bat and other endangered species. So you'll see a little bit of work out there. You'll see a haul road be installed and then nothing for the balance of the spring and summer.
I'm sure that one other question that you'll get, I don't know if it's been addressed, is what's the impact on wildlife with the draining?
That question is probably the one that comes up the most. We are lucky enough to have an incredible natural resource and aquatic biologist team with the on staff here at the Metro Parks. And so two things. One is we do fish relocation often, and we have the equipment to do it, typically with an electroshock process. And then secondly, so we will be doing that here. Secondly, there are some freshwater mussels that have been encountered in the south part of the lake. So we will be working with a team to have the freshwater mussels relocated to other points in the watershed. So
What about, we have kind of a larger population of beavers, don't we? At the lake?
yeah,
We don't talk about it.
yeah, we don't talk about beavers. You know, they're not our friend.
Why can't they rebuild?
They would if you gave them the chance. Yes. They will most likely, let's say that they're pretty good at being transient. They will relocate themselves.
Someone's backyard.
Then once it's completed, what about repopulation?
So then we will restock. So we will have a restocking program with our
Not the
aquatic
beavers,
biologists.
we'll
Yeah,
restock
yeah.
the fish and the
yeah,
mussels.
Would you talk about refilling the pool when it is considered done and time to refill?
Yes, and I will say, and this may sound odd, it will probably refill in just a matter of a few storms. Because we're on the main, well, not main branch, but the east branch of the Rocky River, we have learned a lot in the past 6 months with trying to temporarily dewater the lake just 4 feet. We would lose a week and a half's worth of progress with a 1-inch rain, okay, or even a half-inch rain. So now it may be very muddy when the lake first refills, but I would venture it is only going to be a matter of like short months or weeks to see the lake refill if we get, you know, a good storm here or there.
Mhm.
And the stream above the, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I need you to come up to the microphone, please. Martha could not hear you before.
Jim Larson, 20 Car Road. This is my last question. The earth that you spoke about that you're going to reline the dam with
Mhm.
coming from Buzzard Roost, is that going to come from the driving range or land behind it, or what is the geography that all that earth is going to be coming from?
Where we have designated the borrow area is on, I would say, and we don't have an aerial to look at right now. If you look at an aerial, you'll see that there's a very defined meadow with a very strict tree line. Yes.
Miniature golf course.
Well,
This is
okay.
where the where they celebrated the
Return of the
buzzards
buzzards.
returning.
Oh,
Yes.
okay, okay.
Yes.
There's a large meadow there.
I'm
Yes.
Part of it's.
The
right on
top,
corner
top of the lake.
Yeah.
I have-
At State and
West Drive
State and West.
Western State.
Western State.
Yes.
West Drive and State.
Okay,
Mhm.
I really missed the mark.
That's-
Oh, no, that's, it's fine.
All right.
It's fine.
Did you think they were going down here?
I can tell there would be a number of residents who'd be overjoyed to see you dig up that driving range.
Oh, we're not doing that.
Too bad.
We're
No,
not talking
no.
about that, just like we're not.
On
talking
record, we're
about-
not doing that. No, no. No, thank you.
So, and what measures would you take during the process and after refilling to prevent silt from going further down the east branch of the Rocky River that is not as pristine after the lake as it is above the lake?
Mhm.
I don't want to blame it on swimmers, but I'm not sure what to blame it on. But how would you hold back the silt?
So we're doing two things. First and foremost is what we're doing right now in Johnson's Creek. We have nearly finished a restoration project in Johnson's Creek that really reduces the amount of head cutting that we're seeing in Johnson's Creek. And that head cutting is an absolute straight line relationship to the amount of sediment getting into the lake. So we've created, I don't want to call them armored because we use a natural stream design. But if you get a chance to go to Johnson's, I'm going to be going there after this meeting. We've used design methods to help naturally restore alignment and also the embankments, so we're not seeing that whole erosion issue and all the load of sediment. Secondly, when we dredge, we're actually going to be creating. So you can see here how you can even see from the aerial just the silt that
Mhm.
is deposited here. We are going to be building a 4-bay in this area. So what that means is we're actually going to be digging out a larger area than, correct. So then once we get that inflow from the east branch, it gives it a chance to drop out and settle out so that in 15 years or 20 years, when we draw the lake down again, we can go back to the 4-bay and dredge the 4-bay and hopefully not have to dredge the entire lake. So that's the plan.
What about below the lake, below the dam?
We don't have any plans to do anything below the dam.
But what about the silt?
In terms of,
Any way to hold it back?
are you talking,
Allow the silt to flow into the east branch of the Rocky River?
we will allow the silt to go through its natural deposition process and transport process during construction through the east branch, which is something that we've talked to the Army Corps about, to the EPA about, and that is just a part of the process and would be happening anyways if the dam were not there. So.
Any comment on odors from when you start the dredging?
That's a good question. I will say that there may be a day or two, but what we've learned at Garfield Pond, what we've learned at Strawberry Pond is that it might smell like mud for a little bit. But because we don't have high phosphorus levels, because we haven't seen a lot of chemical deposits here, it's not something that we're really concerned about. So. Mhm.
I'm done.
Are you sure?
What if Jimmy Hoffa shows up?
You know what? There's always a good story hidden somewhere. If we find a car or a bowling ball or something.
Or a dinosaur.
We could find a dinosaur. Yeah. Yeah.
If it's a Garcia on a carbon fiber rod, that's mine.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, got it. And that big fish is attached to it, right? The
No.
one that got away?
It was
Okay.
not-
No, okay.
Would you care to make the motion?
Just accept a motion agreeing to the letter.
Well, move to sign a letter of support for the Metro Parks Dam renovation project to be sent to Sherrod Brown, supporting the project that will commence in 2023 with completion in 2025, 2026.
Second.
Seconded by Asherle. All in favor?
Aye.
Well, thank you so much, folks. Do you,
If we could, your motion specifically suggested only the letter for Congressman Brown, sorry, Senator Brown. And we do have a second.
I'm
letter, right?
gonna send that letter to Congressman Max Miller's office as well. Just want to clarify that.
no, we have the one.
I can send that same letter.
Same one.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine.
This one
Yeah.
to him
yeah,
as well.
We just want to be clear that the congressman and the senator will both be receiving the letter.
Amend motion to include Congressman Miller.
We can do a separate one for him if you'd like, or we can just send that exact one to both offices.
It's your choice.
Okay.
Right.
You want to amend it and I'll second it since you made the motion that I seconded.
Okay, amend the motion to include the sending the same letter to Congressman Miller, Max Miller's office.
Second, as amended.
Second as amended, all in favor?
Aye. All right, so we'll sign yours and then put it in Melissa's
I
box so she
actually-
can sign.
I printed out another one with today's date on it. So
Oh, okay.
it wouldn't be predated.
And then is it okay if she scans it back to me or if the administrative assistant scans it back to me?
Sure.
I
Okay,
don't have a problem with that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
folks
for coming out.
down.
It was nice to meet both of you.
Nice to meet
Yes.
you.
Kristen,
Thank you for the big diagram.
Yeah,
Would you spell your last name?
Mine,
Yes.
T-R-O-L-I-O. Nice Italian.
T-R-O.
T-R-O-L-I-O.
This is very interesting.
You got it right. Oh, T, is that a T?
Yeah.
That's, it's supposed to be a T.
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 T
T as in Tom.
And it ends in a vowel. That was my maiden name.
What was your maiden name?
Marzullo.
Mine was Giovanni, so I was Italian and then I got another Italian. last name.
Marzullo. Now I'm just German,
No, yeah, looking at the water.
Everybody's Irish tomorrow,
right?
right?
And then in a month or so, Mexican.
Big rain.
Oh, I didn't even think about that one. Cinco de Mayo, you're right.
And then we can all be American on the 4th.
Well, thank you so much. If you have other questions, you probably have my email now through the email chain. Happy to answer.
Was it forwarded? I thought it came from Melissa. I'll have to, I'm sure we'll get it.
Okay,
Yeah.
and again, we'll keep you posted if we're successful with the funding or not.
All right.
So let you all know. So-
All
Thanks
right,
for coming
Thank
out.
you.
No, thank you for making the time.
Mr. Pearl, great notes.
That's what he's known for.
He said at approximately 2:24 in the afternoon.
Right, yeah, exactly.
He's like an elf, you don't forget.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, moving on to trustees corner.
Yes.
What a great subject for the trustees corner.
You gotta be by a
Oh,
microphone
no, never mind.
or else Martha's gonna be texting me saying, I can't hear who's talking. Okay, I sent you and Melissa yesterday, a drafted option of what I thought we could submit for the trustees corner for the month of April. The deadline was yesterday, but I did email Script Type and asked them if they would be willing to extend the deadline by a day for us. And they said, yes, they were. So I sent you both that email and said we could discuss it today. I just wanted you to have it in advance. So if there were any edits that you recommended, it would save time if you had it ahead of time.
I did look at it and it's just a simple reiteration of what was already read into the record. So it's already a public document. So I would have no objection if you wanted to submit that.
Okay. The only thing that I changed on this after I sent it to you was the final line where it says the township has hired outside legal counsel as representation. I can't remember exactly what it said. I changed it to the township has hired outside legal counsel who is an expert on township and annexation law as per his resume and his website. Objections to that?
I mean, I think it's okay as is, just so that they know that we have legal counsel.
Okay. I just thought it would be appropriate to list that this was his specialty, but that's fine.
Okay,
Just legal counsel.
yeah, that's fine.
I wanted to add that in there because of the statement that Melissa made at the last meeting, saying she didn't have, I'm going to paraphrase because I do not remember her exact wording, but basically she didn't have any confidence in our attorney. So that was why I thought it would be nice to reiterate that he is an expert on township law and annexation law.
Well, if they're listening in here, they'll capture it from here. As far as.
Leave it the original?
Yeah, leave it the original. And if they want any additional information, I'm sure we can provide that from his office.
Okay. How does that last sentence read after legal counsel? Because I did not save the draft.
For representation on this matter.
Outside legal counsel for representation on this matter. And it's 294 words. We are under the 300 word max. And I will send this off to them now if we are in agreement.
We are in agreement.
Fantastic.
Okay, anything else for the good of the order?
There's nothing else on our agenda.
Is
So
that going to be a
You
trustee
find folks?
appointment or trustees?
trustees. It
All
will
the
keep,
trustees
it will keep the
will
S
be in
as it
agreement.
has always had.
The board,
Trustees.
All the trustees will be in agreement. on this.
Yes,
Cool.
that it would be, yes,
what we agreed is that the board would agree.
it would be the voice of the board. So that it would not be,
And as
just
I
one
said,
person's.
if this was something outside of the scope of something that wasn't already in a meeting, I would hold it in abeyance. But because this is already a matter of public record, it's inserted in the meetings minutes from the last meeting, that I have no issue with putting this out.
For your information, the trustees corner that I'm submitting is strict, it's Jack's timeline of the annexation, the CRA request, all the way through the annexation petition that he read at the last meeting, which I'm sure you saw. So it's strictly the facts that that timeline that he had put out. And then I just added in 2 sentences that we've received so many questions about it at the front of it, and then the body of it. And then the last 2 sentences are just that Medina County Commissioners are going to hold a public hearing on April 11th at 10:30 a.m. and that we hired outside legal counsel.
And both of those pieces were discussed in the meeting as well. So, all
Okay.
right, with nothing else, I will make a motion to adjourn at 4:47 PM.
Second.
Seconded by Asherle, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.